Hey everyone, it's Myriam and welcome back to another video. In this week's video I have a personal piece. I feel like it's been a little while since I uploaded one of those. The title is Lost and it's painted in watercolour and gouache in a style I was trying to experiment with a little bit. I'll talk about it a bit more in a minute, but I have a couple announcements to tell you about first. So for those of you who follow my community tab and the post I occasionally put on there, I posted a couple of days ago that I have now become a Skillshare brand ambassador. And basically what that means is that they got in touch with me and asked whether I'd be interested in an exchange of services. So I mention their platform every so often and talk about their services to my following, and I'm given a referral link and a discount code, and anyone who's interested in checking out Skillshare can use my referral link or my discount code and get 2 months of premium membership for 99 cents, and every time they do so I get a small commission. So it's kind of a win-win because that way people can check out Skillshare for virtually almost for free for a couple months, and then I get a little bit of money from each person that uses my referral code. So if you guys are interested in that, all the links are in the description below. Now if you're not familiar with Skillshare, it's a platform that hosts thousands of online courses made by a variety of professionals on a big variety of subjects. They have a lot of drawing and painting courses, they have marketing and business courses, they just have a lot of services, and they are just a really friendly, quite accessible company. I really like what they do, and I'm actually planning on probably uploading my own courses to their platform at some point. I am working on one at the moment and I'll let you guys know as soon as I've uploaded some of mine up there. They are not, I feel like I do need to point out, they are not sponsoring this video. They have sponsored a video of mine in the past, but this video is not sponsored. I'm just mentioning this to you in this video because I thought it might reach a bigger number of people, so more people might be interested in the offer. So yeah. So that's my first little announcement. And then the second one is kind of an early one. It's not quite, I haven't quite worked out all the details yet, so keep an eye out for the rest of that info next week. But I'll be having a 20% off sale between the 14th and the 20th of May to celebrate me getting my own printer. I'll put all the details on Instagram on my community post, and I'll talk about it more in length in next week's video, so keep an eye out for that if it's something that you'd be interested in. So anyway, that's it for my little intro. Sorry if it took a little bit long, and I'll jump straight into talking about this painting. So this painting was a little exploration in style and technique. I wanted to try out using watercolour and gouache together. I have in the past used watercolour and gouache together quite a lot, but I usually mix them. So I layer the two of them together to get various effects, but I also wanted to try not mixing them at all, and instead having some parts of the painting in watercolour and some part in gouache, because I really like the contrast between the different textures that you get with the two different mediums, and I just think that as a narrative it could be really interesting. So this is basically what this painting was. It was an attempt at achieving that effect, with the skin tones being in these really soft watercolour colours like you have with watercolour and then the background being in bolder, more opaque planes of gouache. And I have to say, I really like that effect. I really like that style and I really want to explore it more. I think it could work really nicely with a variety of different concepts I have, so expect to see that happen again quite a bit more on my channel, because I'm going to be exploring that quite further on. Something else I want to try and practice is doing less complex pieces, because my natural tendency, especially with my bigger paintings, the ones I really feel are finished projects, tend to be quite complex compositions with quite a layered narrative and quite a few like unconscious symbols in there and characters interacting with each other and all that, and I'm usually not very satisfied with painting until I have all these different layers. And it's, as much as I do love doing that, and I'm not going to stop, and all my big pieces will definitely keep being that, I also want to practice being happy with simpler concepts, because not only will it help me paint more and just create more art, but I think it'll also give me a little bit of artistic peace, because if I keep looking for things to be complex to be satisfying, then I'm just never going to be happy. Not as a general life sense, but as in with my work. So I just want to try and find satisfaction in creating concepts that are just as efficient but simpler in narrative. And so, for example, this painting was based on the concept that she didn't have any eyes. That the character, which is for some reason female, which is really unusual for my work. I don't tend to gender my characters. It's not necessarily voluntary. It's just that I don't know if my characters are human, and I don't know if they're gendered, and so I tend to not apply a gender to them. But for some reason, this one is a she. I don't really know why. But basically, the idea was that she didn't have any eyes and that you could see the background through her eyes. And I wanted to, initially I'd written down the idea and I wanted to include it in a bigger composition with more stuff going on. And then I just stopped myself and I went, no, it's one concept that works on its own. Maybe it's enough on its own in a piece. So just paint it. And I usually go in with thumbnails when I want to do a painted piece, and I paint a few color comps and I try to get a better idea of what final look I want. But sometimes that leads me to actually disliking the piece by the end and not actually going to painting it. So sometimes I did that for my painting Sphinx also. Sometimes I just go in without planning. Sometimes I just go, I want this kind of concept, I want this to be the core of the piece, and then everything else around it can just be a work in progress. And so for this piece I sketched it on the right size of paper, then I transferred it to the final paper, and then I just went straight in with the paint. I knew that there was a risk I would completely fudge it up. I knew there was a risk that it would just end up being horrendous. But to be honest, that also is a risk when I put a lot of thought in the piece. I did a big painting recently and it was very big. It took me a long time. I was really excited about it, and you know what? I didn't like it in the end. So sometimes planning isn't necessarily what something needs. Sometimes it's the best route to go, and sometimes it's not. It's difficult to know when one is all the other, but I don't know. This one seemed to work out, and I'm actually really quite happy with it. There are things I would change, like everything, and I think that's just true of most of us artists, that we finish a piece and then we're ready to move on to something that we hope will be even better. But it's nice to be satisfied with some aspects of what you paint, and I'm not actually an artist that's consistently and dissatisfied with her work. I don't hate my work by any means. I love the process of creating it more than I love the final project. I think that's what my thing is. I love feeling like I'm evolving, so I love painting it because I feel like I'm learning so much and I feel like I'm going in the direction I want. And then once I finish a painting, I usually look at it and go, oh, interesting. It ended up being like this, or it ended up not being like what I thought it would. And then generally I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to do something else and learn and incorporate all the things that I learned doing this previous piece. So it's not that I'm not satisfied with my paintings generally, but it's just that I feel like I learned a lot by doing it, and I want to start applying all the things I learned again to something else. I'm really rambling in this video. Geez, sorry. Sometimes I realise that I think I'm talking to myself just as much as I'm talking to you, so I'm kind of almost trying to voice a process I've gone through, and that wasn't conscious when I was going through it, and I try to put into words once I'm done. So these videos are kind of somehow kind of therapeutic. I'm sorry if you're like sitting there and going, why is she dishing all that stuff out on us? But yeah, you're privy to basically all the workings of my head, of my mind, that I'm not even aware happened, which is interesting. It's like automatic writing a little bit, talking on those videos sometimes. But yeah, let me know if you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a slightly different angle to what you're used to, but it's because I was working on this board and it's quite heavy, so having it next to my resting on my desk is a bit easier. The reason it's on a board, by the way, is because I am painting on watercolor paper and I stretch it, so you can see it quite easily here. It's taped to the board with some gummed paper, and I also stapled it because my gum paper is quite old, and so it doesn't necessarily stick to the to the wood very well. But it basically means that stretching watercolor paper, the basics are that you dunk it into a bath of water and then put it on the board and then tape it down with this gummed tape kind of thing, or staple it as you prefer. And then when it dries, it's stretched to its maximum capability of water holding. That's not very English as a sentence, sorry. But it means that when you paint on it with a lot of water, it won't buckle. And you can see that I used quite a lot of water on this one and it stayed nice and flat. So that's really enjoyable. It's a bit time consuming to stretch the paper, especially when it's big pieces of paper like this. And my boards are quite heavy, so they're not the most convenient thing to paint on. But it just means that you have such a nice smooth paper when you're finished. It's really enjoyable. But anyway, as always, all the supplies I used are in the description below if any of you guys are interested in what I used to paint. This piece will be available as a print on my shop, and definitely will be available for the sale, so make sure you check that out if you're interested in that. And other than that, I hope that you're all really well. Take really good care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week. Take care everyone, bye.